This is Audacity in action. We're going to go through a simple project beginning to end, and that's going to be a simple sweep for my weekly show, Missing Time. I'm going to presuppose just a little bit of Audacity knowledge, and I'm going to use a couple of keyboard shortcuts, but I'll explain the basics of what I'm doing as we go. So we're going to start by just recording the vocal track and step on from there. So, from the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the rooted groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled D-A-D-D-Y-L-E-S. Now back to the music. Now we're probably going to speed that up a bit later on, so we can afford to speak slowly. From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the rooted groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled D-A-D-D-Y-L-E-S. Now back to the music. That sounds more or less okay. So we're going to clean that up just a little bit. Now, a little bit of breathing noise is going to sound natural. Exaggerated breathing noises we should get rid of. So these generally look a little bit like this. So to join the easiest thing to do is simply highlight the part you'd like to make silent. Click this here, and that will go away. Or send a there we go. And that's the major ones. Now, before we add any effects, we're going to want to bring all of these more or less in line. Now, when you use your normalization tool or your compressor tool, it's going to do an effect based upon the differences between some of these peaks. So first, we're going to want to reduce the larger peaks down to be more or less in line with what you'd like the max to be. So this is our major offender here. So if we have a look, that is a little higher than I'd like. So to highlight the entire project, click here, go to Effect, and then hit Limiter. -1 is not what we'd need. I am thinking maybe -6. Nope, Control Z will undo. Effect and try our limiter once again, this time -7. -9, little on the aggressive side, but it does remove all of those. So, and you'll notice, oh Earth, this is Missing Time. It really hasn't made it sound bad. Now, this is too quiet to be of much use, and we're also going to want to increase these little areas. So by highlighting all, if we go to Effect, and then Compressor rather. Now these settings here are more or less okay. So -12, -40, ratio 2:1, attack time about 20 seconds, release time 1 will work. And you'll notice that's brought everything up quite a bit. If we then Effect and then hit our Normalize as the final step, that's going to bring everything in line. Generally, I'll use -1. So, from the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the rooted groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled D-A-D-D-Y-L-E-S. Now back to the music. You can actually go a little bit further. So let's say we Control Z that to go back 2 steps. And we initially normalize. We can then do our compression again. And you'll notice it's a little more even, but we do have those peaks again. So we can then hit our Effect, then our limiter, nowhere near as aggressive. -2 should do us just fine. There we go. From the buzzing center of the hollow earth. And that'll do. Now, I'm happy with the vocal track, so that will do. Now we're going to do an effect on the voice itself. So to make it sound a little... Actually, we may have missed. Now back to... Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. So we're now going to do an effect on the voice itself. This is going to be played during my own show, so I want it to be less recognizable as my own voice. Probably the simplest effect you can use here would be a pitch effect. So let's copy this, Control-C to copy, click anywhere else, Control-V, we'll paste it. We'll mute our original purely and solely because I like to keep a clean track up here that I've not done anything to and do all my editing on a separate track. So let's click there to select all, and let's go for that pitch effect. Now, a negative figure this way will, of course, make it deeper. A positive figure here will make it higher. Our default being 0, let's try -9 on for size.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way.
That sounds okay. However, we are going to want to add just a little bit of emphasis on certain words. So we'll click it in there and copy this guy, bring it down. Now, if I were to play this, because both of these are the same pitch,
Buzzing center of the hollow earth,
all they're going to do is combine and just amplify. Now, what I want...
This is Missing Time.
So I want Missing Time.
Missing Time.
There we go. So...
Missing Time. Missing Time.
Okay. Now, if you hold Shift at this point and then hit Home, it's going to highlight all of that, and we actually want to remove all of that sound. So I've just got
Missing Time.
And go from that silent area there to around about here. Silence that.
Yes. Now back to the music.
And I'm happy with just back to the music.
Now back to the music.
Now, why did we do that? What we'd like to do is use multiple voices at once. So we'll copy that and paste. And with this one, we're going to use yet another pitch effect. And we'll use the -9 again. And then again on this one, we'll use a -9. Well, actually, I've done something. There we go. This one is now -9. And have a listen.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time.
So I've got that dual tone effect, which is a little bit of a, it gets marketed as a demonic sort of voice, I guess. We'll copy that and paste it, and we'll add that pitch effect once again. So -9 again.
Hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your...
That sounds pretty okay. But I think we can do something just a bit better. Now, I don't want to overdo things, so I'm just going to stick my final effect on the final and deepest of the emphasis tracks here, I guess you could call them. So we'll highlight this one. And this effect we're going to go with is a reverb effect. Now, you're not going to want an excessively large room size. The reason for this is... Let's have a big one.
This is Missing Time. To join the fun...
Yeah, because I'm in a cave. Let's try that again. Once again, reverb. And we're going to go for a value of 20. Let's try that on the size.
This is Missing Time. To join the fun...
I'm actually not convinced 20 is the best way to go. Let's try that again. And the whole point of doing this beginning to end is to watch the nitty-gritty watch, rather than one of those presentations where someone's already done it. Better to puzzle things out.
Is Missing Time. To join the fun.
And I don't mind that at all. So let's go beginning to end.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the rooted groove in Secret World Legend.
I'm wondering whether it's worth, I'm after something really gravelly, whether it's worth copying and pasting that one again.
Is Missing Time. To join the fun.
That's pretty good.
Now back to the music.
That sounds nice and proper demonic, I guess. Now, I could go ahead and I could add further effects to this. This is already... let's be honest, a little bit of a mess, and I'm already happy with what I've got. So what I prefer to do at this point is mix this down to a single lossless track, and let's do that. Export the audio to... there we go. And we will throw in a title... And MP3 is not ideally what we'd like. I prefer to go with the wave. Why? Because it's lossless. There we go. Now we can safely close this guy. I don't want to save anything about that. And we drag our vocal track into a new thing. And we have our track. However, you can immediately notice, look at that clipping. We don't want it touching the outside. We want this, well, honestly, I'd prefer the intensity be higher than the other stuff, but not the volume. We don't want to bust some poor listener's eardrums. So let's highlight it all, and once again, go to our old friend, the limiter. Let's go to neg 1, which is generally where I prefer to put it. And there we go.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the...
Maybe, in fact, let's go ahead and make that -2. -3 is actually a good baseline that a lot of people use. I actually prefer neg 1 for my stuff.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time.
That works for me. Now, the majority of the work we're going to use from here on in will use two tools. We will have our selection tool and our time shift tool. At this point, I'll use the time shift tool and pull that across just a little bit because there's an effect I'd like to use for the very beginning. Now, stuff on the radio tends to have a distinctive sound, and a lot of that, especially in terms of promos and sweeps and things, when you're having a listen to the radio, you'll notice there's a lot of those staticky, how do you term them? Snow screen sort of effects, or a radio that's sort of out of tune, or a tuning in radio. Sometimes referred to as a stinger. That's what one of these here is called. What we'll do, let's try this on for size. Now that is, as you can see, a touch louder than that, so let's drag it down there. And what I want is for this sound to cut in when this is cutting down to a more manageable sound. So we don't have to, it is possible to just lower the volume part way, so this works, but I want this to roll all its way. So let's...
The buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time.
And I think that sounds too bad. Actually, we'll drag that in a little bit because we're going to want space for something at the end. Now, with these particular tracks, you can find these at places like freesound.org. What I prefer to do is one of two things. I'll go to somewhere like Freesound, and they'll have different categories of licensing available. So some of the very common stuff is Creative Commons, but it requires its attribution. So you've got to put down basically where you've got it. You've got to give credit to the author, and there is not a thing wrong with that. Let's say you're doing something like a YouTube video. You can very easily put a credit in there for the owner of the track, and they get, you know, a sort of a shout out for that. When you do using this on internet radio, it's a little bit more difficult, which is why I tend to go for the Creative Commons 0, which is attribution free, which basically means you can use it and you don't have to say who the author is. Honestly, if you're using it in something like YouTube, I recommend just putting their name in there anyway, because why not? The other thing you can do is you can go to a place like ProSounds, where it's stuff you're going to have to pay for. And it can be a little bit on the pricey side if you're getting, you know, effect packs. When you buy them individually, they're not terribly expensive. Now, this here is one that was actually purchased. So let's go for that. Now, there's no real reason to have these on separate tracks. I'm going to have them at the same sort of volume, so there is not a thing wrong with grabbing this guy, pulling that up, killing that extra track and going back up here, and we'll just... I want this toward the end. Now, we've already modified the volume for this track here. Put the gain down.
LES. Now, back to the music.
That's about where I'd like it. So... what that does, these little sounds give you a little bit of the radio feel, and if you train yourself to pay attention to the ads that are going on between songs on commercial radio, that's the sort of thing you're going to hear. You're going to hear things that sound like, you know, buzzing, radios, tuning, stuff like that. Now, the other thing you'll generally hear is background music. So let's grab a track for that. And this is going to want to be on a separate track. Now, right now, I want to have this starting and stopping at a particular spot. I can't see my vocal track, so I'm done with this. So we can collapse that track. No need to mute it. No need to mute it, but we can collapse it so we can see it. And starting the music in line with the vocal track will probably sound reasonably smooth.
World. Buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time.
I think that works well, but it is a touch too loud. And I'd want to have this a bit lower.
Buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun,
because we're not showcasing.
Buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the Rooted Groove in Secret World Legends.
All right, I think that sounds okay. So we can copy this guy. Oops. Paste it. Now we've already changed the gain on this track, so there's no reason to mess with it. And you'll notice here, this is actually quite a nice little seamless transition, almost as though the author intended it to be used that way, eh? Now, we're going to want to stop this at an appropriate area at the end. Now, having it stop with this effect, I think would be good. Maybe even a touch earlier. So I think...
ES. Now, back to the music.
I'm not sold on that ending, though, because... we have a increase in sound here, which is, you know, creating really an increase in focus on this track. Right at the end, we're wanting the back to the music and the, you know, the stinger out. So we're going to use, we could use our limiter, that would work. The other thing we could do is fade it out. I'd prefer an actual hard stop here. So I think the limiter will be a go. So we've got the area we'd like to reduce the volume on highlighted. Let's just, make it up to there. And we're going to want to stop it around in line with that. So our effects and back to our limiter. -2, maybe even -3, I think would be good. I think that's more or less perfect. So let's try that.
Yes. Now back to the music.
Now, I'd also like to, let's fit it all in. Let's try this project beginning to end.
Buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the Rooted Groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled DaddyLes. Now back to the music.
I think it sounds okay. I would be happy having that playing on internet radio. Let's kill our effects there. Because now that I'm hearing it...
Groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request.
I'm not crazy about this gap here. So let's remove maybe half of that. We are going to have to realign things, but, you know, we can do that.
Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes.
We could probably cut it more. I'm happy with that. But another thing we can do, let's give this a shot. And let's change our tempo. Now you've got your change of pitch, which is as it sounds. You're changing the pitch up and down. You can change the speed, which will change the pitch as well. As you'd know from, you know, fast forwarding a video. We don't want that. Changing the tempo, though, will change the tempo again without changing pitch. Let's try that by 10. Now that's shortened it down.
From the buzzing center of the hollow earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the Rooted Groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled DaddyLes. Now back to the music.
Now, doing something like that, why would we do that? Well, firstly, I'm not a professional speaker. There are people out there who can speak crisply and quickly. I'm sorry, guys, in general, not one of them. I'm okay for internet radio, maybe YouTube. Probably not much more than that, though. Now, by speaking slowly and then modifying it to speed up the tempo, it sounds like you're speaking crisply and quickly, which sounds professional. Now, when we put our sounds back on, we're going to obviously want to move everything back in.
Now back to the music.
I'm happy with the placement there. And we'll go to our sound. Now, once again, removing that. We're actually avoiding that problem we had here by simply having it a little bit earlier, which doesn't suck.
ES. Now back to the music.
All right, so let's try this one more time, beginning to end.
E.
And I actually mean beginning to end.
From the buzzing center of the Hollow Earth, this is Missing Time. To join the fun, make your way to the Rooted Groove in Secret World Legends, or send a meetup request to DaddyLes, spelled DADDYLES. Now back to the music.
And the other reason for that speed up was we had some reasonably fast, tempo in the background track. And I don't think the vocals really matched up. Now, I think that's not too bad. I'd be happy, using this as a show promo, and I probably will. Now, the use of this kind of sweep is you'll be mid-show. It's not an intro. It's not an advertisement for it. It's just a, hey guys, bit of like a station identifier. This is what we're doing, and it doesn't require me to say, hey guys, you're listening to Missing Time. I've got, pretend someone else to do it for me. And that's it. That's how simple it can be to use more or less simple effects on a free application to do something of reasonable quality. I hope this has been useful.